Hello, this is my final presentation for my CJ 101 class. Um, so I've got a lot of information, and I'm gonna kind of go step by step with each one, on like necessarily like what I think. But for the first one was media and like bias towards media, pretty much. And so for the first one, I really talked about kind of how the media almost can farm each, like, how do I put this? It's kind of hard to put in words, but, and I had a hard time putting down in my notes, but how the media farms, whether it's crime, whether it's racist behavior, whether it's political events, whether it's a tragedy, the media really takes this and farms it. They find the seed's been planted, and now they're reaping the field. And this really causes a lot of problems. And there's two forms of media I'm going to be going into depth here. One of them being, what's the word? One of them being the news. One of them being like social media such as Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. So the news. I am a firm believer on sort of, also just an FYI, it for my teacher. I don't have PowerPoint. I wasn't able to take a video of me doing it like it said in the notes. So I'm going to be linking my presentation in the description of all the videos, and I will be putting a link. I will be putting the full presentation into the Turnitin spot. But so pretty much, I believe that the news plays a huge role in sort of discriminating one another, whether that being a police officer, a political figure, a famous person, whatever, right? But this brings a lot of bias. You know, you have news outlets that are meant for the left or the right. You know what I mean? Everyone's always divided, left or right. And this is a huge thing. You know, big news channel for the left would be CNN. And they actually used to be right wing, which I did not do that when I was doing my research for this. That came up. I did not know that CNN used to be a right wing news channel. But so CNN, huge liberal or huge left wing news media, and then on the right side you have Fox, huge right wing or Republican wing news channel, you know, and this provides biased outlooks on whatever happened, you know, whether it's a police brutality, whether it's a famous crime that happened, like someone robbed a bank, you know, they're gonna have their own sort of opinion on each situation, and this creates a lot of tension within that thing, within sort of what is going on, right? For instance, in the notes you brought up, we had to bring up a real world example. For instance, George Floyd incident. I believe George Floyd was 2021. I think end of 2020, 2021. I don't remember the exact date. You know, you had this officer, this white Caucasian male officer, and you had this African American civilian, or named George Floyd, right? I don't remember the officer's name, but pretty much there was a call, and I believe from the information I found, now see, this is just I looked at multiple, I'm not trying to get political here, I know this can be kind of a touchy topic. I believe that from the information I gathered, he was resisting arrest, and so then the officer put him into a restraining hold, right? Police are usually equipped with sort of holds to put people in when they're resisting arrest. Unfortunately, this one was one where it was a pretty intense move, and it's a very dangerous move. It's almost like a blood choke, you know, like a blood choke. You put your hand here and you put up someone here and you get the veins and right here, and it will cut off circulation to make you pass out. It's a form of a blood choke almost, but using the ball part of your knee on the back of your neck, about right here, And so pretty much what happened, from the information I gathered, he was resisting arrest, and the officer put him to the ground, put his knee on his neck, and then unfortunately, I believe he suffocated, or there was something in his neck that popped, and he died, right? Tragic. This is terrible, terrible, terrible thing that had happened. And all of a sudden, boom, it spread like wildfire, right? And this is huge because these news outlets were farming it like crazy. You could not escape it. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram Reels, whatever, was boom, boom, hounding on this sort of thing. And it shined a light on police, right? And now police brutality, now I'm going to round it all back. Police brutality has been a thing since who knows God when. And the major uprising of anti-police and or ACAB or whatever, those things, the names such as pigs and, I don't mean to swear, shit sniffers, like names like that have been around forever. So a little backstory to this. It all started around towards the end of the hippie movement, right? You had the Vietnam War, and hippies were all peace and love, you know what I mean? And then about late 70s, early 80s, it went into the hardcore punk movement. As someone who is a part of the punk movement, and I'm in multiple punk bands and wearing a grindcore punk hoodie right now, I know a lot about this. So bands would have stories, and bands would have opinions on police, right? For instance, I'm a huge Black Flag fan. I got a Black Flag record right up there. There was a song called Police Story. Henry Rollins, the lead singer of the hardcore punk band Black Flag, this was a story about how they would play shows, right? And the police would raid them. And there was stories about how Henry Rollins would get punched in the face, or Greg Ginn would get a guitar broken because they would have these shows. Now, a lot of the times these shows were illegal at the time. You know, people weren't fond of this kind of music. They thought it'd bring anger and violence, right? Rather than people just enjoying something, right? So punk bands would sort of forward this movement on things that they didn't like, such as another really famous one would be Kill a Commie by Gangrene. Very anti-communist song, right? So you had all these different forms of music and media within this scene being anti one thing or another, primarily focusing on anarchism and anti-authority over police, right? So that's where it kind of started, right? And then it went dormant for a couple years, and then it came out again, right? And back then you had the news, but you didn't have social media, so music was a form of media. It was a form of media that was consumed by another, right? And so that's kind of the origin of that, right? That's where that police brutality really started to dig its roots, right? Really started to sort of form an anti-police thing, was around in that punk scene. You know, and then you get in the 90s and the 2000s, and it kind of, like mid-90s, early 2000s, it kind of went dormant. That thought almost went dormant. It really relatively stayed within certain music scenes, right? Now we fast forward to the 2020s, right? People are already anti-cop. People are already whatever. This George Floyd segment and what happened really shined a light to that. And as someone who wants to be in the law enforcement, I want to be into the drug enforcement agency of things, really, really brings a bad taste to my mouth, you know? I don't think all cops are bad, and I never will think all cops are bad. But I do handful agree that there is a lot of bad cops. And so these medias throughout the years, they would farm this, you know, and this created division, this created controversy within this, right? And it goes, and I put this in my notes, this goes to a sort of people believe what other people say. in this day and age, I firmly believe, I firmly believe that people don't gather their own intel. They don't take their own opinion, right? And that goes with anyone that sides with left or right, all right? I'm going to say some personal information, okay? I am very much middle wing. I lean more left than I do right, but I'm very much in the middle, okay? But I have gathered my own opinions on things. People listen to what people tell them, what CNN tells them, what Pitchfork magazine tells them, what Fox News tells them, whatever, and they don't form their own opinion, you know? Everyone believes police brutality is terrible, because it is, right? But when that George Floyd thing happened, everyone was boom, 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 boom. You killed him, you killed him, you killed him. This is your fault, blah, 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 blah. Yes, it is his fault. But why was he in that situation? What did he do to get himself there? And that's what I want to talk about. The media pushes things to divide. The media plants a seed for us to plow, to create division. It is a constant thing that happens in today's society, and it's terrible. The media will always and will forever, any form of media, whether that's music, social media, news, will forever be there to plant an idea in someone's head to make you agree. As a musician myself, as a vocalist in many punk bands, I'm in a grindcore band, I'm in a hardcore punk band, I'm in a sludge and doom band, I'm in a grindcore band, I'm in a power violence band. I am in 5 bands, and I do vocals in almost every single one of those. And as someone who makes songs about things that I don't like, I have made political songs about people I don't like in the government, forms of government that I don't like, right? But I'm not trying to influence. I am not trying to bring a thought where I am thinking to myself, I'm going to write this song to influence one another. And this is the problem. The news will forever do that, and it's sad. It is almost sort of like, what's the word? Sort of, I can't think of the word, but sort of like almost, I don't want to say mind control. I put that in my notes. I couldn't think of a word, but sort of like a mind control. And it sucks. And it's terrible that this happens, right? And it just plants seeds, and police brutality has gone down since 2020. 2020, I think 2016, it was 0.01% of crimes involved police brutality. And I believe my chart only went down to, I think, 2021, but the 2021 bar didn't have any stats because the graph was made in the beginning of 2021. I put that in my slides, so you'll be able to see that. But I believe it was to, I don't remember the exact thing, but it was, 2020 was up to, 2016 was 0.1, excuse me. And then 2020 went to 0.6, and then it went back down to 0.1 in further years. So things have changed. Things will continue to change. We will continue to get these instances where the news is farming, sort of, or social media is farming, sort of a thing, I open up Instagram. I'll admit it. I don't use TikTok, but I use Instagram. Not that often, but I will occasionally scroll on some reels, And there's been plenty of times where I will get back-to-back clips of an officer shooting someone, right? An officer choking someone out. An officer punching someone, But why? What got them to that situation? And that's what people I don't think understand. They don't understand the fact that form your own opinion, that the idea of forming your own opinion is out the window. Forget it. Most people don't do it. And I think the problem with that is because we have constant news outlets. constant sort of media bias telling us that what to believe, what to do, what to think. And I think a way we can really, really fix this sort of division within this media farming that we're all glued to our phones, this media farming, is by really opening up to the idea of forming your own opinion. I don't care if you're left, right, middle, communist, Republican, Democrat, capitalist, whatever. I don't care. But a lot of the times the media is an influence on us. Media will have an influence on everything. It has an influence on how police officers look, politicians are looked, celebrities are looked, firefighters are looked. Anything you can think of, it has an influence on that. Because now day and age, people can take a video of anything and post it on the internet and get thousands and millions of people to look at it, But I believe especially as a youth, right? I am 19 years old. And I believe to put an end to sort of media bias and the way that the media does to one another, and especially towards police, is forming our own opinion. We see something on the internet, let's do research about it. If it's on Instagram, or Facebook or Snapchat or whatever, it's gonna be on the news. You know what I mean? So reading that, reading articles from CNN, from Fox, from Middle News. There's a Middle News thing. I don't remember what it's called. Middle News articles, pulling from all these sources, gathering all of our intel, and really focusing on how can I form my opinion on this, instead of automatically siding with one thing, reading one-sided thing. It's unfortunate, but CNN, they're one-sided. Fox, they're one-sided. Read multiple, understand it more, and bring it together. Bring all your information together. And I truly think, as a youth, we can really get this done. For instance, my family is very much divided, left and right, very much, and fights have happened between politics, and I think that's silly, you know what I mean? And this George Floyd thing, for a while, made certain family members of mine not talk to other family members because they all had different opinions, but they were all one-sided opinions. They didn't look at the whole picture. And it's a bummer that the media is able to have such a grasp on us and shine such a light on people who are meant to serve us. Police are meant to serve us. They are for the people. They are not meant to shoot a civilian. They are not meant to strangle someone. They are not meant to unlawfully arrest someone. They are not allowed to be racist, discriminatory towards minorities. They are not allowed to bring hate. That's not what they're made for. And not all police are like that. But because of the media, they get that bad rap. They get that rap that all cops are bad, that all sort of, public police officers are here to hurt us. They are not here to protect us, but they are. And although I believe that there's a lot of bad police officers, I also believe that there's a lot of good police officers, but the things like, making this example up, a police officer saving a cat from the tree gets less popularity than seeing a police officer kill an African American male by suffocating them with their knee. Although that what happened needed to have light shed on it. But don't form your whole opinion about police on that one thing. Form it about another thing. I'm not ACAB. I'm ACAB in the sense that all cats are beautiful. But I'm not in the sense that all cops are bad. I don't believe that, and I don't think that will ever be the case. And it's unfortunate that the media has such a strong hold on this factor, that whatever we believe in is from the media. Whatever we do is told to us by the media, not by our own self, not by what we truly believe in. And again, I'll say this one more time. I believe a way that we can change this is by looking at the whole picture, doing your own research, and coming to your own conclusion. At least, and then if you disagree with someone, at least you both had your research. At least you both understood what happened. I also believe that the media farming things will never be something we can get away from. But I believe we are able to sort of make things less by doing our own research. And I hope you understand as well. And if you don't, that is okay. But this is my opinion, and this is what my research I gathered. So, thank you.